Hello and welcome. I'm Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that shows an average person's reaction to all of the UAP, UFO news from everywhere and anywhere. So, the wave of drone sightings and reports over New Jersey and other states continues. This has naturally generated a lot of concern and questions from the public, questions that, at least officially, have remained unanswered. I found this update on Avni Lohia. The title reads, FBI says it doesn't know what, quote, these drones are, while deputy reports that, quote, they are arriving from the ocean. And the subtitle reads, while the wave of drones continues to occur in New Jersey and other American states, the FBI declares at a hearing that it does not know what they are. Officials report that these drones are coming from the ocean, believe it or not. Okay, so this hearing was held in Washington to discuss the growing wave of drones in the United States. And that's good to know that the government is trying to do something about it or is discussing it. The article continues by saying the purpose of the joint hearing of two Homeland Security subcommittees on unmanned aerial systems was to seek answers about this intense wave of mysterious drones. However, the answers were not obtained, and on the contrary, more questions arose. That's not encouraging. The assistant director of the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group, Robert Wheeler, simply could not explain what these drones are, which now fly indiscriminately through at least 4 American states. That's hard to believe that they have no idea. The FBI had already announced that it was investigating the incidents. Asked by Congressman Tony Gonzalez, he's a Republican from Texas, he asked what these drones are that, quote, are out there, end quote. The FBI assistant director impressively confirmed that he does not know. Jesus. Okay, here's a clip of Congressman Gonzalez questioning the assistant FBI director Wheeler about what he knows.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
Yes, and I agree. That's complete madness that the FBI doesn't know. And mind you, the downing of these drones, because a lot of people have brought up, why don't we just shoot them down? That is under federal jurisdiction. So if the FBI doesn't know what to do with these drones, obviously no one's going to do anything about them. The article goes on to say, this is more serious and worrying than one might think. How can the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, after so long, still not know how to inform the public about where they came from or who is behind the operations of these objects? That's right. I mean, that sort of an answer just incites chaos. It incites panic in people. If the FBI can't tell the public what these drones are doing above their homes, who can? And if you don't know or can't answer about these simple drones, imagine what they'd say about actual UFOs. But it seems that there are no risks for Americans, at least according to the FBI itself. Asked whether Americans were, quote, at risk, the FBI's assistant director told Congress, quote, there's nothing that I know that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know. And that's the worrying part, end quote. You're telling me. Again, he's not very encouraging or reassuring in his responses. The FBI seemed baffled and apparently unable to provide the answers the lawmakers were asking for. The FBI said it was looking into the matter, especially since drones had been reported flying over, quote, sensitive areas such as water reservoirs and military bases. So apparently the FBI is utterly clueless. How is that possible? Okay, here's a little bit more of Assistant Director FBI Wheeler answering questions or giving testimony on the drone situation or the drone incursion situation.
Sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL-FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
Yeah, I would say that's very concerning, especially since he's obviously clueless and now he's actually asking us, the public, for help. That's something that I'm sure most of us never thought we'd see, the FBI asking us for help. Now, there was a representative, Nicole Malliotakis, who represents New York's 11th District in Staten Island and Brooklyn, said her constituents reported drone sightings over a power plant and the Verrazano Bridge, which is in close proximity to the historic U.S. Coast Guard base at Fort Wadsworth and Fort Hamilton, a U.S. Army installation in Brooklyn. And she had some interesting comments and questions for the FBI Assistant Director. She demanded answers from him. Check her out. This is Representative Nicole Malliotakis.
The gentlelady from New York, Ms. Malliotakis, is recognized.
I just want to follow up on what my colleague asked regarding what happened in New York and New Jersey. These drones, unmanned aircrafts, have also flown over my district. A number of constituents have seen them over a power plant in Brooklyn. They were coming over the Verrazano Bridge. And I will remind everyone or explain to everyone here that Verrazano Bridge connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. And on the Staten Island side, you have Fort Wadsworth, which is a U.S. Coast Guard sector New York base. And then in the Brooklyn side, right on the other side of the Verrazano Bridge, you have Fort Hamilton, which is a U.S. Army installation. And so it is very concerning to me that we have these objects. We're not sure if they're drones or unmanned aircrafts, but they are flying over sensitive infrastructure and facilities. And the fact that we don't know what they are or who's behind them or what they're doing is very concerning to me, particularly in a post-Chinese spy balloon world. Okay, the fact that this administration allowed for a Chinese spy balloon to go across the country over multiple military installations is very concerning, and that we could potentially be having this happen again it's like astounding to me that this is even happening without any type of intervention. You say it's no known threat, but is there still a possibility of there being a threat? At the end of the day, that's what my constituents want to know.
Yes, I am cognizant, and we all are in the FBI, of what this threat can look like. Anyway, across the spectrum of sophisticated state actors, adversaries that want to hurt us, all the way through counterterrorism matters, cyber, WMD, criminal, all the way down to a nuisance drone that could cause harm. So that's the wide spectrum that concerns me every day.
And okay.
I would just mention, it concerns me that we don't know the answer to your question yet.
And are you working with the Pentagon, with FAA, with DHS, with your partners to try to identify this? Because I don't put it all on just the FBI. I think this is, I mean, what is Homeland Security doing? Do you have any idea? Have you?
I wouldn't speak for another department, but I will say that the way we do business is extremely collaborative in the interagency, and especially with our state and local partners.
So who's taking the lead here on this particular issue to identify these drones and aircrafts?
Well, we have an investigation open predicated on a idea that there's unsafe operation in the airspace, which is a federal violation that we have some jurisdiction for. But it would help us know sort of what lane this falls in when we know the people that are responsible and what this is all about, to your point earlier. And we're actively investigating and would like to answer those questions.
Yeah.
But I don't have a better
And
answer.
what if they were carrying chemical weapons or something? We just don't, I mean, this could be a much worse conversation we could be having right now, because these things have been flying all over New York, New Jersey, over military installations. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but these agencies need to figure it out and try to get to the bottom of what's going on. I think it's very concerning. Is there a possibility, if hopefully it is not a threat, is it a possibility it would fall under this System Assessment and Validation of Emergency Responders Program, the SAVER program? This is a program under Department of Homeland Security Technology for search and rescue, disaster response, and it could be part of a law enforcement assessment. You think that's a possibility? Because my Army base doesn't know about it. My NYPD doesn't know about it. So I guess my question is, why wouldn't the local authorities know if this was part of a testing of security technologies for first responders?
I don't know that to be the case,
Okay.
and I couldn't really comment on that.
Yeah, I would say that that's very concerning. And I think that FBI Assistant Director is being a little elusive there, and he might know more than what he's letting on, especially when the representative there asked him about the possible testing of these drones. He was very elusive, and he said that he really couldn't speak on that point. Now, I'd like to address the fact that now there's information that these drones might be coming from the ocean. And one part that drew attention at the hearing was the remarks of Representative Chris Smith. He's a Republican from New Jersey, who reported 2 troubling and impressive incidents involving these objects. The congressman stated during the hearing and in an interview on Fox News that he went drone hunting at Island Beach State Park on Monday, the 9th of December, accompanied by Ocean County Sheriff Michael Mastronardi. They went to the beach because the night before, a police officer had counted 50 drones, 50, coming from the ocean towards the land. In addition, he reported that a Coast Guard officer reported that one of his 47-foot ships in the ocean was being tracked by between 12 and 30 drones. Wow. And this is a direct quote. One of your officers 2 nights ago saw 50 drones coming from the ocean right there, end quote, Smith said. Quote, we had several other people present, including a commanding officer of the Coast Guard, who reported that one of his 47-foot ships was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones right behind them. Okay, and here's Congressman Chris Smith speaking on these drone sightings.
And I'm very concerned that we're missing something here. I've raised the issue, as has my colleagues, Maliotakis and others in New Jersey and New York, about these drone sightings. So last night I was on the beach in Island State Park in Ocean County with the sheriff. He has been working it every single night. He's got his own tethered drones chronicling. One of his officers 2 nights ago saw 50 drones come in off the ocean right there. So we thought maybe they'll replicate it. They didn't, but we thought it was a possibility. Last night we had a number of other people there, including a commanding officer from the Coast Guard, who said that one of their 47-foot motor lifeboats was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones as they went through the water, followed right behind them. And I said, what's the rules of engagement? I mean, you do it if you're fighting against a narco trafficker or something. And they said, we don't know, we don't have any. So I did reach out to the commanding officer at the Joint Base, which is also in my district, and talked to him, had a very good conversation, Colonel Anthony Smith, Joint Base Fort Dix McGuire, the 87th Air Wing, Air Base Wing today. And I said, I know you have the capability, you've put out press releases, to identify and bring down drones. Why can't you deploy them at least to the ocean? Bring one of these down, find out who's doing it. They have the capability. He said, we don't have the authority.
So what are these drones and where do they come from? Do they come from the sea? And are they a national security threat? And most importantly, why doesn't the FBI do anything about them? Does the FBI really know nothing about them? Here's a quick news report on the situation over New Jersey and New York.
Well, that's right. The woman who took those cell phone videos lives here along 3rd Avenue in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And she says she saw what she believed to be those drones over by the Verrazano Bridge. She posted those videos online and now has gotten the attention of Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who represents this area. And she is among those demanding answers as to what is going on. Diane Atkins says she first heard a roaring noise and then looked out her window in Bay Ridge to see these lights, several in the sky near the Verrazano Bridge. She believes they are all drones.
They started to change from like white lights. They started to get like more like reddish green blinking lights. There had to be in total 10, maybe 12 of these things, and some of them came closer. They went over my building. You could hear the whir of the motor. They seemed pretty large.
Any chance they could be planes?
Absolutely not. Definitely not planes. And there were too many of them. There's no way planes could fly that close together.
Atkins shared her video on X, and Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis reposted, demanding answers from the NYPD, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security. Over the weekend, drones were also spotted over Staten Island. And we've been telling you about numerous sightings over New Jersey, especially in Morris County. On Monday, Pix 11 News asked Governor Phil Murphy for answers about the drones.
We don't see any concern for public safety. That's number one. Number two, having said that, it's really frustrating that we don't have more answers as to where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing.
Last week, the FBI's Newark field office issued this statement to Pix 11 News. We understand the concern, and we are doing all we can to figure out what's going on. We truly don't have much information to provide at the moment.
I was on with the White House and Homeland Security leadership literally at the very top yesterday for pretty much all day. I'm hoping we'll get answers sooner than later. I would just ask folks to continue to let the FBI or their local law enforcement know when they see something.
What's going on in America? Why doesn't our government tell us what's going on in these skies? Is this the military doing active military things? Then let us know.
And the FBI says you can report those drone sightings by calling the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or on their TIPS website, which is tips.fbi.gov.
Yeah, so you can see there that they're putting out a tip alert, and the FBI is actively seeking help from the public. But what is the FBI itself doing? Here's Assistant FBI Director Wheeler again, commenting on what the FBI is actively doing about the drone incursions.
Sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity.
Well, you heard it there. They are, quote, actively investigating, end quote, the drone activity. And mind you, he's probably a scapegoat. He's just a spokesperson for the FBI, but still, he's a reflection of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and what information they're willing to tell the public. Okay, so the FBI actually put out an official statement. This is from Newsweek. FBI issues statement as mystery drone sightings reach New York. And this short article is by Flynn Nichols. The FBI has issued a statement addressing ongoing mystery drone sightings that have now spread from New Jersey to New York, urging public cooperation in their investigation. It comes as residents in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, reported drones on Sunday night, joining numerous sightings across New Jersey in recent weeks. The sightings, which began in November, have alarmed residents in neighboring New Jersey. The drones have reportedly been spotted near the Picatinny Arsenal, a U.S. military facility, President-elect Donald Trump's Bedminster Golf Course, of all places, and in response, the Federal Aviation Administration temporarily restricted drone flights over these locations. I would think so. It was the president's golf course. And believe it or not, some people don't think that these are drones at all. I found this on the subreddit Aliens, and it's from Actual News 93998. And the title reads, Ex-Military. So this is an ex-military person who claims that they worked for NATO. And he says, these aren't military drones, they are something else. I will tell you exactly why it's not the military. And he cites a couple of bullet points here saying it's common sense. The first of which, number one bullet point is some of these are the size of cars, and that's true. They've been reported as being as big as a small bus or a car. There is 0% chance these will be flown over a densely populated area. Imagine they failed and landed on a house. Second bullet point that he cites for them not being drones is airports had been closed down out of nowhere and flights averted. Okay, so he doesn't think that the military would be interfering with domestic flights that way. The third bullet point that this person offers is, since when does the U.S. test these drones all over the world at the same time? And that's true. Drone incursions have been reported all over, in China as well. And this person, who's an ex-military person, is saying that all those points are against military procedures, and that if it was military, they would have decided to throw out the rules of operating procedure. He also said something interesting here towards the end. The one thing the military hates, and he has in quotes, believe me on this, is looking incompetent. Yes, the military does hate coming off as incompetent. Then fingers get pointed and so on. They will not confirm or deny anything, exactly like what is happening. He says, I have absolutely no idea what some of these craft are. And he says, sometimes you need logic. The US government and military haven't a effing clue what is going on, just that it's not a threat. Obviously, it's not a threat currently, as they have absolutely hurt no one. Okay, so not everybody is of the opinion that they are drones. Well, the government has stated that it's not extraterrestrial, it's not an adversary of ours, it's not Chinese or Russian drones. But then I came across this post that made me wonder whether that was true or not. This is from the subreddit UAP, ARCREEF, Chinese national just arrested for drone over Vandenberg Air Base. 39-year-old Jin Pao Jing was just arrested at San Diego Airport for drone spying. He flew a drone for 1 hour over Vandenberg Air Base on November the 30th. The drone was recovered with the footage of the base on it. He was boarding a flight to China. This may be the beginning of arrests or maybe just a one-off. Time will tell. And this did not mention the type or the size of drone, mind you. Could that be the drone incursion mystery solved? And in addition to that Chinese spy flying a drone over Vandenberg Air Base, I also found a post that might lead me to think that it was one of New Jersey's police department's own drones that might be up there. This is from the subreddit UAP, _BROT, and it reads, this is the only actual disclosure of drones I have. It's from the Rahway Police Department in New Jersey. I cannot find any other disclosure of the recent drone activities. Everything else I have seen is just saying to report the activity. Has anyone else seen any actual disclosures like this one? So it's an actual post by the Rahway Police Department. And it reads, the Rahway Police Department, and Rahway is in New Jersey itself. It reads, the Rahway Police Department will be conducting drone operations within city limits tonight, December the 6th, 2024, from 8 to 12:30 a.m. This notice is to inform residents of the planned aerial activities. For questions or concerns, please contact the Rahway, New Jersey Police Department. So in addition to the possibility of the Chinese spying on our aerial bases with drones, some of these drones might actually be police drones that are up there. I thought it'd be interesting to look at some of the drones or unmanned aerial vehicles that are out there and are cutting edge. Some of the drones described over New Jersey seem to look almost like airplanes, but were unmanned. This is an example of what's out there and is pretty cutting edge and what might be over New Jersey and New York right now.
Yeah, so the XB4, it's been designed as a logistics platform for the Navy. You see right here, it's an autonomous platform, goes from point A to point B to deliver an object. Right now, we're looking at improving the way this object is actually used. It's fully autonomous at the moment. We're adding in additional functionality to operate it from moving objects, moving vehicles, moving ships, and really making it more of an operational tool. We have the ability to tune the vehicle design for a more specific flight regime, that being an efficient, fast cruise. And, we've got the VTOL capability. Again, by nature of the configuration, we have the ability to be more resilient to adverse weather conditions, vertical gusting, and it's a big reason why we're going after the maritime market. It's a really, really tough, challenging environment landing on the back of a boat.
You can see how that is very similar looking to an airplane, and from a distance might be mistaken for a small airplane, but it's an unmanned aerial vehicle. So the XP4 is a fascinating unmanned aerial vehicle or a drone, and it's being developed by the U.S. Navy for recon and logistics. And it's a trans-wing design, which means that it transitions between helicopter and fixed wing modes, fixed wing mode for long-range flights. So it can hover like a helicopter and fly like an airplane, which a lot of these drones over New Jersey and New York have been doing. They've been hovering for hours and then they fly away like a plane. It's about 13 foot wide and 6 foot long, about the size of a car, about the dimensions of a compact SUV. And that's consistent with a lot of the witnesses' statements in New Jersey and New York. On the subreddit UFOs, Josh's Total had a very good point about the flight path of these drones. And he said that the flight path leads directly from the coast up to northern New Jersey. And wouldn't you know it, right where it's most commonly seen, we find Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst, home of the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, whose whole job is to research, test, and support aircraft for Navy combat operations. So right there, right where all these drone incursions are occurring, you have a Naval Air Force center whose whole job is to research, test, and support aircraft for Navy combat operations. This also explains why it's appearing every night and how it's sticking around so long. It literally has a home base to swap batteries at all night long. And that's why they're not talking about them. It's their drones, and they don't want to advertise. It says here, and it seems logical, that some of these drones, at least most likely, are experimental drones being tested by the Navy, likely running nighttime training missions. So there you have it. You have a naval training base whose whole job is to test these drones. That makes sense that they would be testing their drones at night if there's a base there in New Jersey whose job is to research these unmanned aerial vehicles. I just wonder why they're doing it so blatantly. I guess they figure at night they'll be less obvious. It also makes sense since if you look at what's going on in the world in Russia and the Ukraine, and even in the Middle East, you can see that there's a lot of drone activity in the warfare there. That seems to be the way that wars are going to be fought in the future. I found this article on a U.S. Department of Defense newsletter, and it's dated December the 11th, and it's by Joseph Clark, and it's entitled, Hicks Discusses Future Character of Warfare in London Keynote Address. And Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks was talking about innovation and how war will be fought in the future. Her keynote address was entitled, quote, Future Character of War, end quote. And the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks, discussed key insights from Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine, which she said offers, quote, a window into how future wars will be waged. And the picture that emerged is a future of warfare defined by the new capabilities and concepts enabled by commercial technology from satellites to drones. Okay, so it makes sense that the military would be testing their drones for future conflict, especially since there's active warfare going on now in the Ukraine and Russia and in the Middle East itself. The initiative, which Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks announced last year, is focused on fielding thousands of, quote, attributable, end quote, capabilities, platforms that are unmanned and built affordably, allowing commanders to tolerate a higher degree of risk in employing them across multiple domains. And unmanned is just another word for drones. So my opinion and my reaction to the drone incursions that are pretty much worldwide at this point is that it's just a build-up to any future warfare that we might be getting ready for or might be imminent. And the drone activity is just the way that these wars are going to be fought in the future. Mind you, that doesn't exclude any UFOs that might be monitoring the action. So I'm not excluding that some of these drones may be extraterrestrial. But it also reminds me of an incident that occurred back in the 1800s when there were a lot of unknown flying objects in the sky being reported by very many people, and there were never any definitive answers that were provided. A lot like what's happening today. So Matt Perkins, 86, from the subreddit UFOs, said, these drone sightings remind me of another event from the 1800s in which mysterious airships or lights were seen by thousands for weeks and then suddenly stopped. The mystery airship or phantom airship was a phenomenon that thousands of people across the United States claimed to have observed from the late 1896 through mid-1897. Typical airship reports, including nighttime sightings of unidentified flying lights, but more detailed accounts reported actual airborne craft similar to an airship or dirigible. The mystery airship event officially kicked off late in November, just like here, which is a weird coincidence. Our incursion started about November. And that event continued in waves through the new year and midway through 1897. And at the time, the exact same conversations were being had. And they were also saying it's hidden military tech back in the 1800s. They also thought it was spy equipment from other nations. There were a lot of misidentifications. And lastly, back in the 1890s, they also thought it was an alien invasion. Thousands of people witnessed these things, folks, and there has never been a concrete explanation as to what was seen. They simply stopped. But it's quite interesting that both these events deal with the craft that are very of their time. In the 1800s, it was airships, now it's airplanes and drones. It's interesting how history seems to repeat itself. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. Thanks for listening to my podcast.
Now, finally, I just want to add a few comments on the reports of drone activity here on the East Coast, particularly in and around New Jersey. We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said,